Order. If y'all bow your head and pray with me. Father in heaven, thank you for allowing us to gather again to serve you through our jobs here and serve the people of Dickson County. Remind us we do our work that is for your glory and your glory alone for what we do. Well, thank you for allowing everyone to have a safe holiday and return safely here to meet. Keep those with us tonight, those not with us tonight, in your prayers and their family that's in need at this time. Again, we appreciate you being what you do and how you make our lives better and that help us make our lives as citizens better. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Everyone stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Simpkins.
Here.
Mr. Ledger.
Here.
Mr. McElwain.
Here.
Mr. Beatty.
Here.
Mr. Dawson.
Here.
Ms. Spicer. Mr. Buckner.
Here.
Mr. Britt.
Here.
Mr. Petty.
Here.
Mr. Williams. Mr. Grove. Ms. Gray.
We do have a quorum. I think many of you probably know that Becky Spicer's mother's in hospital and had some serious health issues. So she was not able to make it tonight, and keep her and her family in your prayers if you would. Commissioner Grove had some unforeseen circumstances come. He couldn't be with us tonight. First order of the business is approval of the minutes from the December 4th work session. Open the floor for a motion. Motion by Commissioner Buckner, second by Commissioner Gray. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, vote by stating aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next item, committee reports. Any committees to report? Seeing none, the next is elections. Agriculture Extension Committee appointments. Actually, these are elections. Commissioner Randy Simpkins and Ms. Scarlett McMean are the names being brought forward for appointment or election to the Ag Extension Committee. Open the floor for a motion. Motion by Commissioner McElwain, second by Commissioner Petty. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, vote by stating aye. Opposed? Thank you. Item number 4 is new business, Industrial Development Board land purchase. Was not able to get you a good printout today, but as you recall, in 2000, it's been almost 10 years, hard to believe, we made that announcement of Dow Tile coming to town. We had a variation of property that we sold them and that we gifted them to get that Dow Tile project, which has worked very well. There's property on the northeast corner of that property. You would know it by the second entrance into Dow Tile right before you cross the bridge on Sanker Road heading toward Burns. The 20-acre portion there, which includes the road, we've been in discussion with Dow Tile about having that property given back or sold back to the county. Because we need a place to put a health department and we need a place to have extra industrial land. They've agreed in principle to do that, to sell it back to us for $1,750 an acre for 20 acres. That's $35,000. That property can be, we were selling it as industrial property, we would be selling it for $30,000 an acre. So they're doing us quite the favor on that. We will have to pay the money because, of course, the Industrial Development Board technically still owns that property because it's still inside its pilot program. But what I'm asking for is the money to be funded out of our 172 fund hotel motel tax, $35,000, to have that property purchased, to assign that money to Industrial Development Board so they can repurchase that property back from Dow Tile, and then with Dow Tile transferring it back to Dickson County government for our use. And I think I explained that one pretty well. Did I, Mr. Reagan? I did better than I did at noon when I was practicing today. Any questions for discussion? Looking for a motion to move this on to regular session. Motion by Commissioner Petty, second by Commissioner Dawson. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, vote by stating aye. Opposed? Thank you. Item number 2 is ambulance service pay review. I passed out to you on your desk a summary, and it's a very short and concise summary of pay for paramedics. And these are for paramedics, not EMTs. At this point, we've tried a lot of different things before we came back tonight to have a discussion with y'all on this, but it's become quite evident because of two issues, or basically one main issue. It's all compensation. You'll notice what our surrounding counties are paying for frontline paramedics. Uh, that's a problem. And the other reason we lose employees to other agencies is because the family insurance is provided at little or no cost, or we only provide coverage for the individual and not for the family coverage. And that's been a decision we've had to deal with for the last at least 13 years I've been here. It's just been an issue about being able to do that. But what we want to do is bring forward to you tonight on those sheet I gave you. Those are lists of what we're competing with, and you can see we're woefully behind. The only one that we're in excess of right now is Cheatham County, but Mayor McCarver and Cheatham County and I are having the same discussion. We're losing paramedics to Robertson, Montgomery, Metro, and Williamson County. Again, this is one swap at this to get this done. I would like to tell you, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. I'd like to tell you this is going to solve the problem, but the bigger problem that everyone in the United States has is that paramedics are at a premium right now, and these prices continue to go up. But the thing you can see from what we passed out, we are behind who we're competing with, and we're trying to not get to the top number, but get mid-range, because our selling point is Dickson County government's a good place to work, and it's a good place we can keep you near your home, where you don't have to drive to Nashville or Williamson, Montgomery County to work on that. That on the pay, that is a general summary on that. It's a lot more detailed than that, but I had to get it down in a condition where y'all could look at it. Because when you go through and look at these different level of paramedics that have, and Mr. Bear's here to explain at more detail about critical care, non-critical care, there's more strata in there. But he and I sat and worked on this for last really month, especially a lot today, to get this down to a point where we could try to get as close comparing apples to apples and what we're losing out here on that. I'm maybe getting ahead of you on this, Donnie, but there's enough data in here. We feel good about we presented you, but I want you to be in a position to make a decision completely. And Mr. Bear will sit with you over the next 2 weeks individually or as a group, so he can go over to you in detail. It's more that he and I could explain in a PowerPoint to you tonight, but we're in a critical situation on this. Again, whenever you're talking about raising pay, that significantly, that's a expense that has to be managed. We went and looked at Mr. Bear's expenses. You'll see at the bottom on his revenues. For the last 5 years, we used a 5-year trend. He's averaged that 5-year excess around, I think it's $263,000 a year. That will fund a little over half of it. We have extra money that we brought in revenue and savings that will keep us from having to look at coming back to the taxpayer at this point. But I'm getting way ahead of us now. But with the issues with pay out there, we are fighting to keep employees in skilled positions. So I would like to tell you, if we do this, it's going to bring this to a complete halt. I can't promise you that. I can't promise that to the citizens of Dickson County, but being down 14 positions, and we have stations that are closed that were 24-hour stations that are only running 12 hours or less. And so the cost comes in, what is the cost of public safety? And we always have those discussions. Well, every life is valued. We'd like to spend millions and millions of dollars, but it's a practicality of what we can do and what we should do. What I'm presenting to you tonight, I'm as comfortable as I can be with it. But again, it's something we're going to continue to deal with until this economy gets into check, and until more people in society, more young people especially, decide they want to come out of school and take on these service positions. People aren't doing what they were doing even 10 years ago, and certainly not at my age when people were killing these positions 30 and 40 years ago. That's not true now. There's still just very few positions very few people out there for a multitude of positions. And with the growth of our county, with the work that Mr. Bear's doing out of his office, and what we're doing with our first responders out of Mr. Fisher's office, and the growth of this county, we're going to continue to have stress on it. So I talked a lot, but Donnie, if I got out ahead of you on any of that, please explain anything you'd like to on this. I'm sorry, I missed one on your desk. I think I left one on everyone else's desk, didn't it? Do y'all have one? Okay.
Thank y'all. No, the only thing I really want to touch on, besides repeating what the mayor's done said, we are down several positions. We're down about 25% of our employees. And I was like, okay, what we're trying to do is get to the middle, something that we can slow the bleeding. I call it, not stop it, but try to at least slow it down. Cause Metro, Houston County, and Williams County is my 3 ones that's pulled from us. I've got out of that 25%, I've got 1 EMT spot, the rest of them are paramedics. There is a difference between paramedic and critical care, but the majority of my stuff is paramedics. Critical care is just the next step higher level training. And like I said, we are shutting stations down. We've shut our 12-hour stations down, and now we're having to shut 24-hour stations down. Burns is my first station I shut down. If it's a 24-hour truck, the 12-hour truck is Iron Hill. We tried to avoid at all costs to shut Van Leer, Charlotte, and White Bluff, just because they're so spread out. Burns is kind of in between Dickson and there's nothing against Burns. It's just they're my center between Dickson and White Bluff. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that y'all may have.
Do you have people, not necessarily available, but I guess my question is, how do you go about attracting the people to get these positions filled? I know the mayor's done talked about pay raises, but is there a pool of people, or where do you go to look for these people?
Unfortunately, since the pandemic's hit, the pool has declined dramatically. So we've tried Indeed, we've tried our Facebook, social media, stuff like that, word of mouth, stuff like that. They're just not coming in. So the directors across our region here, they've just they're trying to keep what they've got. It's the best way I can answer it, because there's not a whole lot going out, because it is not an easy job. It is rough. No matter if you're in the ditch, icy roads, whatever, working wreck on the interstate, or picking up, the little people at the nursing home. It's a rough job. Jody can vouch for it. He done it for years. So in today's society, I don't think they want to do something that's hard labor. So the other counties like Robertson, I know for sure Robertson, they're full capacity when they done their raise. So they did draw. Like the mayor said, with the benefits and everything, they did draw. So that's what I'm hoping. If we get this, it's going to help us. Our equipment, y'all have done well with our equipment. We've got top of the line equipment from our trucks down. Nothing with that. It's just our compensation now, as you can see, has fell to the wayside. And it's just the nature of the beast that we're dealing with out here every day.
And you're not just having to compete with ambulance services either. Hospitals hire paramedics, working the ERs. I mean, there's a lot of different places that paramedics could work, and they're highly sought after at all these places. So it's not just here you're having to compete with.
Commissioner Beatty.
Well, and I guess my first thought when I first seen this paper, I was thinking, well, we're more in line. I'm just thinking out loud that, we're more in line with Montgomery and Robertson, population wise. My thought was, and I thought, well, maybe everybody's always wanting to, we're not really Williamson County, but then I'm in business too, and we can't get help, and I'm thinking, well, it's just $6,000 more a year, and if I'm needing help, I'm thinking at my place, I'm thinking, what's $6,000 more a year? I'm just going to do that and to see if I can pull some people, so I'm thinking, hey, let's go with the 80 and see if we can pull some people. But so I'm kind of changing tunes here. I was here when there was another man doing your job, and we wasn't collecting fees, and we wasn't doing what we were. Are we collecting now, and we're doing better on that? Where I guess are we bringing in everything where we can maybe pay this 80 now and we're doing good? Or are all of our collecting doing pretty good now? And, you know, at one point, when we had a man doing your job, we wasn't doing too good at.
So Mayor always likes to take that 5 year because it, you know how it is. It's up and
Right.
up now. So over the past 5 years, my average has been $287,000 above my projected. Our projected is 1.9 million. So add the 300, you know, around 2.1, somewhere around there. So that's where we're at 2.2. So that's just the average. Now, you know how it is. It's up and down. But to answer your question, I'm gonna say yes, because we have a brand new billing company too that we've been with now going on. I think we're fixing to start our 3rd year with them, and they have turned it up. 2nd year, excuse me, we're starting a 3rd. So I can see that there. Me and the mayor discussed today, our rates has not changed.
And that was my next question. You know, should we, you know, things are going up. I mean, should our rates go up a little bit to cover some of this? I mean,
And that's one of the things, because not just to pay, all of our equipment, our units, everything is going up dramatically. So, and like I said, we did discuss today. Now, we didn't run numbers, and I was going to try to find some numbers from the rest of the counties just to kind of see where they're at.
right.
And then that way give y'all some information, because you'll
You
have
know.
to prove it and everything. But that way, at least y'all would have that.
Well, and that's what I say, you know, if we're paying what Williamson County is paying, I mean, let's see what Williamson County's rates are. You know what I mean? If we're going off all these comparisons, see what they're compare their rates, you know, and I just want to be, you know, let's be close to everybody and see what everybody's are. Let's just not make sure ours or stuff is way low.
So on your sheet that you've got, and like that is their start out pay.
Right.
Their top out, like Montgomery's is 91,000.
Right.
So we chose the 80 just to try to.
Right. I know.
But like I said, I can get some of the rates. Some of them I can't because they're private, so they don't have to turn
Right.
that loose. But some of them will. But I can get the rates for you.
But I mean, what we're charging and stuff for some of these, all this, I mean, you know, and our collections and all that stuff. I just want to make sure we're getting what we're supposed to be getting also.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, we charge the senior citizens, the ambulance service and all that. Are we charging it?
Mr. Barrett had to
Yes.
answer that.
If we transport, you get charged.
Then see, that worried me because a lot of people can afford it, you know. Do you have a lot of people that don't pay?
We do, but to get back to and I'm gonna say the elderly, once you hit Medicare, if you're on Medicare, we have to go by Medicare rules, and they approve X amount of dollars. So hypothetically, if they say they'll approve 300 of it, we have to write off the rest. They tell us, they mandate us what we have to write off. So we can't balance bill them. Like somebody with private insurance, we can balance bill, but Medicare and TennCare and stuff like that, we cannot. That's federal law. If they want to pay $200 out of the $800 bill, that's it. That's all we can do. And then the Medicare will pay us. Now there is co-pays, and it depends on which Medicare you get into. And I won't get in the weeds because it gets really muddy, but Health Springs, I mean, all of them, they have different co-pays. That's a whole nother, that's what they've wrote. But generally speaking, Medicare in general, true Medicare, there is a formula that they use, and it's 80-20. So generally it's 20%.
People, they don't pay you, what do you do with that debt, bad debt? You write it off, you don't try to pursue it and get it no other way.
Yes, sir. We do. We send it to collections.
Send it to collection.
Yes, sir.
Goes against the credit.
It can. Yes, sir.
It's a bad situation.
But now there is new rules on medical insurance, not medical insurance, medical debt, on what they can report and what they can't. The first year, they can't report nothing on your credit report. So, and after 2 years, then that's when we change.
But you all these numbers, I like to incorporate all that percentage wise and everything with bad debt, so whatever.
Be glad to do that. And that's one of those, just seeing the revenue, again, roughly an ambulance service is about a $4.5 million annual budget, and we're earning $1.9 million of revenue. So that's why it's subsidized by the tax rate. And again, it's an unfortunate deal, but it's necessary for public safety. Folks that may have insurance, like regular working folks through their job, their insurance is going to cover it and pay the full fare. But we pay for $800 rides, which we're helping cover somebody else's bill too. So it's you would want it to be a zero sum game, but it's not. It's always going to cost us more than what we're going to receive in revenue. Because some of y'all were here when we did the convalescent transports and tried to earn money on that, but the hospitals frankly became so demanding. They were pulling all of our trucks out of the county where we couldn't respond to our major charge of 911 calls. And again, I'm about to get off of the weeds, but I'll stop with this comment. Hospitals are notorious of cutting everyone loose at 5 o'clock and sending you home or having you transferred somewhere. Oh, we may have had 9 ambulances on the road, and in theory, we had 8 ambulances heading off to Nashville or nursing home and had 1 ambulance left covering the county. So we couldn't do that. We were putting public safety in jeopardy. So we had to pull out of that several years ago. So we gave it a go, but it was not working. Any other questions? Yes.
What about privatizing part of it? And have we done been through that? And is that what you're relating to, Mayor? Is what we've done, tried some of that, and it didn't work? That's what.
As far as us doing the convalescent transport, that was us basically having a business inside our business and to help defray some costs. But it was putting the time issue, and second, the wear and tear on the vehicles, because a 40-mile trip to Nashville, 40-mile trip back, 80 miles, one trip, regardless of whatever it had to do all the day, it was starting to hurt our fleet, which was catching us on the backside of wearing the trucks out faster, which made us come back in here quicker to buy more trucks. So kind of, you had to find equilibrium there, and we could not find it trying that.
One extra thing to that is the hospital, when our contract was up, they took out what they call last payer resort. So if you didn't have insurance, we could bill the hospital. Well, the hospital cut that out where they wasn't paying that bill. So that put a whole lot more debt on us as far as our budgets and everything. And that's when I talked to the mayor and we showed that to him too. So that's the reason why we had to cut them ties.
Hospitals have a better lobby than county governments do. Well, in general, that's what we're looking at. I don't want to cut the debate off. You're welcome to ask Mr. Bear any more questions. But my suggestion and ask of y'all, if you would like to get more in the weeds of the pay situation, it would be good if you could find time over the next 2 weeks to meet with him at y'all's convenience. He only sleeps about 3 hours a night. So I think you'll have to get him somewhere between 1:30 and 4:30 in the morning. Otherwise he's awake. It's unbelievable. But seriously, meeting with him. The other comments are all points taken on that. As far as revenue, that's something we look at annually, and it's time. Obviously, so like we just finished a budget, but in about 3 weeks, Don Hall will start working on a budget. So we're going to go back and review everything. And there's some things on other issues that we're probably going to bring to you before budget time. Because again, last year I told you that was the most uncertain budget I'd ever gone into because of the increased inflationary pressures, increased cost. Well, as uncertain as I was the last year's budget, I'm even more uncertain about this one. And until the federal government and the federal government quit spending money like drunken sailors and the economy settles back down, there is no way to climb out of this. And again, I almost got political. I'll stop. It's just important on who makes decisions on how they spend federal money, because this is what we're dealing with right now today. It's about fiscal and monetary policy going on in Washington, D.C. I'll stop there.
I have a question. I heard on the news that day that the state of Tennessee's not gonna take no government money. I mean, If that's the case, I mean, why can't they take more money and subsidize what we're talking about? Why
I'm-
can't they, I mean, how do you go about doing that? I mean, you file the state, you need help for that, or, I mean, if they, and they're gonna take any money out, that don't make sense either. You know?
Well, on what state government's doing, you obviously you know a little more about it than I do. My only understanding of that money, it was earmarked for a certain purpose, and the state of Tennessee feels like with all the strings that were attached to it, it would be cheaper not to take the money. We've had a few grants and things like that around here that we've denied because the hoops they're going to make you jump through is ridiculous. I'll tell you a story that doesn't relate directly to me, but it does to the Senior Citizens Center in Dickson. I happen to know the woman in charge of that. They had the same issue. They were getting a grant through the Tennessee Department of Aging and Disability. It's a $30,000 grant, but because of the volume of people they had to have a full-time person inputting the information to get the grant, which that person was making more than $30,000 a year. So it's like, keep your 30,000 and we'll do something else. So again, I know what your point is. I agree with you, but when it comes down from the state and federal government, they keep us at a headlock on how we spend it. And again, I don't know the details about that state of Tennessee. You heard all I know about it. But it's a good point. What we're asking for tonight is the motion to move this on to the regular session. So motion by Commissioner Brett, second by Commissioner Ledger. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, vote by stating aye. Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bear. Always wonder when he comes out, who's actually running that board back there. So no telling what the camera's showing right now. Next item is budget amendments for school budget. We have our interim director here.
Yes, we just want to take them one at a time.
If you would like to, my suggestion on this, we're simply looking to move it to regular session. I just describe what all three of those are. And then if the commission wants to break them up, we'll do that, or we'll vote on as a group and send them all as a group.
Okay,
But-
that sounds good. The budget amendment 2 is coming out of the school nutrition budget. It is coolers and freezers for the Dickson County High School upper and lower campus. And just a walk-in cooler, they've gone out and they need replacing and various things. It's to come out of the school nutrition budget. That's out of $128,500.
Y'all were sent these. Does anybody, I have one copy if anybody wants to look at this again. There's not a lot on it other. It says what fund it's coming out of. It's 128.5. Any questions on that about the freezer out of school nutrition fund for Dr. McCord? Okay.
Okay, the second one has to do with the, it's $412,080. It's the Creekwood Fieldhouse HVAC. It needs replacing. We've done bids. We need it to come out of fund balance, and they recommended the bid from, let's see, I can't tell you that it off, but I can tell you from S&M Lawrence out of Murfreesboro. Mr. Clifton has explained this to me a couple of times. When they did the field house, they put some water drains or water pipes, something under it, and they have not lasted and held up. And every time anything kicks on, the water goes underground instead of going where it is supposed to. And it's more cost effective to replace the HVAC in the field house than it is to dig all that out and redo all of it. So he's gonna cap that off and replace it with new HVAC.
So this is for the actual job. It's no
Yes.
design, it's the actual work being
This is
done.
the actual work, yes.
Any question from Dr. McCord? Yes.
So my question was, the list that we were given back in November, this wasn't on there. So I guess my question was, this something new that's come
Yes.
up?
Yes.
Okay.
And the list that you have in November, those were, as of that day, that's a list of needs, okay? The money is old, guessing, whatever, but those are just our list of needs. And so he keeps adding to that. And this just came up, And there'll be a couple more to come up. I think on the next one, you'll see in the next one about the we call it the sinkhole. Well, no, it's not even on this one, but there's going to come up another one at Dickson County High School. It's not really a sinkhole, but it is a water issue. And we're working on that one. We're going to bring that, I think, probably the 1st of February.
Commissioner Beatty.
Well, and that's, I guess, I've got a question on this field house one, and
Mhm.
and now that you bring up the sinkhole,
Yeah.
And then of course we're moving on to the others that you're bringing tonight, and that was kind of I was wanting to talk about all of this stuff tonight and the list, and y'all may have talked about this some. I know I missed the last meeting, but I guess I didn't know if we were going to have, we kind of talking about the money and everything. Were they going to, I guess, prioritize the stuff? Is this HVAC number one? And is the sinkhole number two? And I guess, what, am I making sense? Is this kind of the,
Yes,
The-
we did prioritize, the board did. They asked Gerald, how would you prioritize our needs based on, and obviously it's gonna change on a monthly basis. But as things happen, like the sinkhole, yes,
Right.
that's all of a sudden got moved to the top
Right.
because obviously we can't let that damage that whole building. The high wall, the Dickson County high wall that we've talked about
Right.
before, that is also on the priority list. So we're all, I mean,
because I guess I'm speaking kind of to the mayor, and I know he's listening a little bit, and kind of to you, because I kind of want to go back to the board, because I'm just speaking as to myself, and I'm hoping,
Mhm.
because I guess I'm not going to vote to just keep spending money, and we're not going to be doing 2 million and 3 million and 4 million. And I guess there's a point to where I kind of want to talk to the school board and say, hey, what are we talking about here? Are we fixing to spend 4 million? We fixing to spend 8 million? What do we, because we do have in my back of my mind, we still got a little school we might be building, and we still got, what are we talking about here now? I've got a budget in my mind here that I want to spend, and how much are we talking? Because I'm kind of seeing, 400,000 here, and then this consultant fee, 300,000, and
We do recognize.
what are we where are we headed?
We have backed up a little bit because we've got the list and we recognize that we need to take care of our buildings that we have.
Right.
And they have to be prioritized. Basically, I mean, if there's a giant sinkhole, or if the wall is going to come down, and that's a major structural issue, then these things need to be taken care of before we can even talk about a new building or a new idea or anything along that nature. And we do recognize that. So they went back in and they looked at all the needs that we had, and they prioritized the ones that we thought were needed the most, even before a new building, because we do recognize by us asking for this money now, that is going to change that. And we do know that. I think Mayor Ryle met with us after our meeting and said, you do realize that if this happens, this is what that's going to mean. And yes, they do realize that.
I mean, right here tonight, I mean, it's $935,000, so we're almost at $1 million tonight. And,
Yes.
if they come in every month and $1 million here and $1 million there, I mean, I guess I like to know where we headed. I mean,
So we're just trying to repair what we've got.
right.
Okay.
Well, this was a
But-
conversation, and I apologize. I should have gotten with you because we kind of covered this commission at our last meeting, and I know you weren't able to be here. But as Dr. McCord said, the vision, and from being at the meeting and talking with her and about 3 other school board members after the meeting, the emphasis is fixing what we have now before looking at building anything new. And frankly, I found that comforting because 2 years ago when this started, I think y'all heard me say it when we were talking about borrowing money or when we were talking about using school fund balance. This is really the last chance. in my opinion, that schools have an opportunity to get ahead of themselves and get all of their old stuff fixed. Because in 30, 28, 32, 34, whatever the date may end up being, it's probably going to be being a new school built because of population increase. We've been in an odd situation with the population growing and a flat student census. So after talking with Dr. McCord, the chairman, a couple other members stayed around, that's what they told me, and I shared with the commission last time. They're going to fix all the stuff first, much as we might do at our house where we put the barn and the sunroom in. We're going to fix the roof and the plumbing and electrical. That set my mind at ease. So again, you'll see in the next request, on request number 4 in here, that's just for design. So if you use the design feature in there, using the basic state percentage, they're designing a building that's probably going to cost about buildings that's going to cost $5.5 million. So when you approve that design on item 4 tonight, they're drawing a plan to come back to spend $5.5 million. So, but it's all about school repairs and fixing things that need to be fixed. Yes.
Well, and I did have a question while I got the mic on the design, and I kind of have, and this I may be asking Danny because he's got kind of knows about that, and this may be for the mayor too. The design fee on this re-roofing White Bluff Elementary and Stuart Burns. I guess I don't understand that in my mind, and where it says design fee for re-roofing, I guess, is that not just getting a bid? I mean, I don't understand the design fee for re-roofing. To me, that's just, you're getting a bid. Look,
Well,
and I don't,
I'm going to read to you
okay.
what the architect sent to me,
Okay,
okay?
all right.
It said, this will include all necessary consulting services and evaluation of the load capacities of the existing structural system and the drainage systems. Our fee is predicated on bidding and constructing the work simultaneously, but not necessarily as a combined bid. So, I mean, point blank, they're going to look at the entire roof and make sure that it's not just, okay, we're going to throw a big roof. Obviously, those are big buildings, but it's got to all be looked at while you're doing that. This is not something that you just, it's not like re-roofing your house. I mean, even when you re-roof your house, you take the roofing off, and if the decking is poor, then, that's going to increase the cost a whole lot. So the cost of this, obviously, the 29,000 is going to tell us, the structural issues that we may encounter and that type of thing. But the actual cost of both of those roofs, according to this, was 3.6 million. Now, that was in September of this year, this past September. So that will, that will come back with a lot more cost. But obviously, we need to go with a company and a structural engineer that does this and knows what needs to be repaired and what needs to be fixed.
There's a state fee schedule, and on renovations, it's a little over 7%. I think that can be negotiated, but that's how I figured the project backwards on what they're talking about, $5.5 million total on all those combined projects. But one thing that might be helpful is the people that are going to do your design, if they could be here in 2 weeks, I think they might be able to answer some of these questions that would help if you don't object to that.
No, I wouldn't object at all. Loud, Cook, and Martin is who we're going through. They voted to just use one company, and I believe this one they also use, this was through Lyle, Cook, and Martin, which y'all know Jim Forlew works for them, and that's kind of who we're going through.
I'm sorry, somebody else have a question? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Any other questions?
Yeah. That's right. Exactly.
And I know you kind of sort of left-handed just presented the 4th one. Is there anything else you'd like to speak on that? Or?
The Charlotte Elementary water heater replacement, that's 15,000. I mean, okay, but that's the design fee. Again, you've got to go in and and make sure it's gonna work with all the parts. The CTE building at Creekwood, we're moving ahead, hopefully with that, getting that underway. Hopefully we can get, you know, that project up and going. I know it's a grant that is funding it. And so, but we've got to pay the design fee to see if all the parts work together.
I think another thing that would be helpful to me, and I think for some of the questions commission, I'll use the term loosely, the $51 million list. I understand we have one not quite that big, but it is a living, breathing document. If y'all could get that updated where the commission could kind of ride that with you every month to know what the next priority may be or what you're looking at next, because again, like all of us, some surprise could fall up in a foundation fall apart or something. Well, all right, that moved from number 100 up to number 1, but I think it'd be helpful to me, and I think to the commission, if we could kind of walk that process with you and school board.
Sure. And just the re-roofing of White Bluff Elementary and Stuart Barnes, we asked Mr. Clifton, or the board asked Mr. Clifton, they said, you know, what are the worst? What are the 2 worst that we, because I mean, he has it on every building. Obviously, that needs to be an ongoing project. And he said, these 2 were the worst. They need it the most. And I mean, that's how that was prioritized. He knows the roofs, obviously. All of them will need to be roofs. We've talked about putting into our annual budget every year a roofing amount so that it's not this kind of thing again every year, that becomes part of the cycle of repair. And just actually have that as part of the budget each year. So they're looking at that type of thing right now. Hopefully that will help a little bit with some of these. Because I mean, that was huge when we saw that huge budget. And it's an ongoing budget, and some of it has been done and some of it needs to be updated, and the prices are just guess on a lot of them. So but those are our needs, you know, the money amount. I wouldn't worry about the money amount. I'd worry about, you know, what needs to actually be repaired. As Mr. Clifton always says, when we talked about the roofs, some of them are like 25 years old, and they put that foam on it. And I said, yeah, every bird that comes by pecks on it now, and that's a leak. And so you recognize that as a need. So.
Any questions for Dr. McCord? We don't have we'll have a motion and a second to move this on to the regular session. Motion by Commissioner McElwain, second by Commissioner Beatty. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, vote by stating aye. Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Cord. Any other business from commissioners? Any announcements? Yeah.
Sheriff and Jackie about Long Road and Franklin Road speed limit in that area, and he's talked with Sheriff tonight, said he's already been working on that. He's waiting on the school system getting back in session to kind of pursue that more, and next month he's gonna come with a recommendation.
Good, thank you.
And thank y'all for doing that.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Mr. Hodges. Oh, thank you. The other thing that's not on the agenda that we'd like to add is the road list. We just, because this holiday and January 2nd got here really fast, this annual road list we have to do that Mr. Hodges provides us. I'd like to get a motion a second to add that to the regular session agenda. Thank you, Commissioner. What's your name back there? Commissioner Buckner, Commissioner Gray. I'm thinking too many things at one time, and add this, so he'll get that to us where we can get it emailed out to you before the meeting on that. Yes.
Are there any new roads added in it, or is there any difference in roads like lengths and things of that nature?
We did have a study done, took Carter Engineering for the road list. Once that's finished, it'll have to go to Mr. Reagan for them to look it over and see what, see what we can and can't do. But there is some discrepancies with the length here and there, not a lot. Most of them are just maybe 100 or, caught several typos. But it's not gonna change a terribly large amount, but there are some where somebody went out to the gate across the road. Those are the ones that's gonna have the bigger changes on.
process that we have to go through if we're going to close all or part of a public road in order for that to be binding. What this is doing is it's giving clear direction to the highway department what areas they're allowed to spend money on to make improvements. And so it could be that there is a section of road that's being removed for now. Let's say someone's put a gate up and we're not, for whatever reason, it's not an issue we're addressing right now. We've not agreed to relinquish whatever rights there may be to that public road. But what we are saying when they limit the length of it to where the gate is we're not going to spend money past that gate. And there'd have to be some other things addressed before that could ever happen in the future. And so this is just cleaning it up so that when they go to make improvements, they can pull the list out, look and see what authority they have and where they can go do that.
You said it nicer, y'all, you did me. I do have a motion, a second. We never voted on that to put the road list on the agenda. All in favor, vote by stating aye. Opposed? Thank you. Any other business? Any announcements? The last announcement will be the next work session will be on Monday, February 5th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the Buford L. Booty Reed Jr. County Commission Chamber, the Dickson County Administration Building, Four Court Square, Charlotte, Tennessee. Have a motion second? Thank you.